It started with a knock on the door, just a routine eviction notice, the kind officers serve dozens of times a week. But what happened next would leave one deputy dead, another clinging to life, and an entire city asking, how could this have gone so wrong? August 22, 2022, just after 1 p.m., 3 deputies from the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office pull up to a modest home on 78th Street. They're there to serve a civil document, an eviction notice, to a man named Benjamin Plank. Nothing out of the ordinary, no backup, no sirens, just a legal task. Deputies Bobby Swartz and Mark Johns walk toward the back of the house. Melody Norton stays posted near the front door, covering the main entrance. They knock, no answer. Plank refuses to open up. That's when something changes. From inside the house, behind drawn blinds and closed windows, Benjamin Plank is watching them, but he's not panicked, he's armed. And as 2 deputies approach the rear window, he makes a chilling decision. He lifts a gun and pulls the trigger. Bullets rip through the glass. Deputy Swartz is hit twice and drops immediately. Johns scrambles for cover. At the front of the house, Melody Norton hears the shots, heart pounding, and before she can react, gunfire erupts again, this time aimed at her. Plank has moved into the garage and is now firing toward the front of the house. Norton ducks. The rounds miss her, but this isn't over, not even close. With 1 deputy already down, Plank shifts his position again, fast, calculated, dangerous. He exits the garage and steps out through the front door of his house. In broad daylight, in full view, he's still armed and still shooting. Deputy Mark Johns, trying to reach his wounded partner, becomes the next target. As Johns moves in to help Swartz, Plank opens fire on him at close range. The bullets hit hard, tearing into Johns' leg and abdomen. He collapses. 2 deputies now lie bleeding on the lawn. Even then, Plank doesn't flee. He turns, scans the scene, and walks back into the house like nothing happened. Plank calmly heads to his truck, pickup hitched to a boat trailer. It's not panic, it's strategy. He grabs more firearms from inside the vehicle, including a rifle, then drives off before anyone can block the street. Deputies arrive within minutes, but it's already too late. The shooter is gone. What's left behind are 2 deputies bleeding on the ground and a neighborhood frozen in disbelief. An alert goes out. White pickup, towing a boat, armed, dangerous. Law enforcement agencies across the city are told to be on the lookout. The man who just ambushed police is now on the move. Roughly 30 minutes later, at 1:31 p.m., a patrol unit spots the vehicle rolling down Southwest 89th Street. The chase begins, but Plank isn't running. He's fighting. The deputies tailing Plank attempt a classic pit maneuver to spin him out, but he holds control and accelerates. He's heading toward the interstate now, weaving through traffic, boat still dragging behind him. But it's not just a chase anymore, it's a gunfight. Plank lowers his window and opens fire while driving. Bullets slam into patrol cars behind him. 1 deputy, pinned in the line of fire, pulls out his rifle and fires back, straight through his own windshield, glass shattering as he squeezes the trigger. Cars swerve, sirens blare, radios erupt with overlapping voices. On I-40, traffic scatters as Plank speeds down the highway, still shooting, still armed. And then, without warning, he veers off the main road. He's heading straight toward a U.S. Air Force base. Even as he approaches the military checkpoint, he refuses to drop his weapon. Deputies watch from a distance as he slows down, rifle still resting on the driver's side window, and coasts to a stop. Everyone braces for another shootout, but what happens next catches everyone off guard. At the entrance to the Air Force base, Plank's truck finally rolls to a halt. The engine idles. His left arm sticks out the window, holding the rifle. For a split second, no one moves. Is he about to fire? Is this another ambush? Then, he drops it. The rifle clatters to the ground beside the truck. Slowly, Plank steps out, his hands raised high in the air. His face is blank. No emotion, no resistance. After nearly an hour of bloodshed, the man who ambushed 3 deputies and fired on police during a high-speed chase simply gives up. Deputies move in with weapons drawn. He's cuffed on the spot, read his rights, and placed under arrest. But the chaos he caused is far from over. Within the hour, Oklahoma County Sheriff Tommy Johnson faces the media. As he steps to the mic, his voice breaks. He tries to speak but can't. The weight of the day crashes down, and for a moment, the sheriff of one of America's toughest counties stands there in tears. His officers were just doing their jobs. Now one is dead, and the other is fighting for his life. Back at the hospital, the news is grim. Deputy Bobby Swartz, a veteran, a father, a public servant, doesn't survive his wounds. The gunshots he took at that back window were fatal. Doctors do everything they can, but it's not enough. Mark Johns, his fellow deputy, is barely hanging on. He's been hit in the leg and abdomen. One bullet severed his femoral artery, another lodged deep inside. Emergency surgery begins immediately. For hours, his condition is critical. At one point, even the doctors admit they didn't think he'd pull through, but somehow, he does. 4 days later, Johns is discharged, walking out of the hospital with visible wounds and invisible scars. The recovery will take months, maybe years, but the fact that he survived at all? Medical staff call it a miracle. Meanwhile, Benjamin Plank is booked into the Oklahoma County Detention Center. The list of charges charges is staggering: first-degree murder, shooting with intent to kill, assault with a deadly weapon, use of a vehicle to discharge a firearm. It's not just a shooting, it's a full-blown assault on law enforcement. But the question on everyone's mind now is, what kind of firepower did this man actually have? When deputies secured Plank's home, they expected to find a weapon or two, maybe the rifle and pistol used in the attack. What they actually uncovered was enough to arm a small militia. Inside, investigators recovered 38 spent rifle casings and 9 fired pistol rounds. But that was just the beginning. On the floor, in closets, tucked in corners, an arsenal: a Glock 17 pistol, an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, a bolt-action hunting rifle, a Winchester rifle, a shotgun, 5 mobile phones, multiple magazines and boxes of ammunition, and the AR-15 he held during the chase, still warm when they took it from him. This wasn't just a panicked man reacting in the moment. This looked prepared, intentional, calculated. The house painted a picture of someone who wasn't just resisting eviction, but someone who had already decided how it would end. And for Oklahoma law enforcement, the realization hit hard. They hadn't just walked into a civil dispute. They'd walked into a war zone. For the people of Oklahoma County, the loss was more than just devastating, it was historic. Deputy Bobby Swartz became the first Oklahoma County deputy killed in the line of duty in 87 years. The last time it happened? June 14, 1935. Back then, the office wasn't even called the Sheriff's Department. It was the Oklahoma County Constable's office. The officer who lost his life that day was Constable Joseph Wood. Nearly 9 decades passed without a single on-duty death. Not one. Through everything, raids, manhunts, traffic stops gone wrong, they managed to bring their people home. Until Benjamin Plank changed that. For deputies across the department, it wasn't just the loss of a colleague. It was the end of a legacy, the breaking of a record they never wanted to see broken. And as the sheriff's office mourned, a deeper question began to rise: how did a routine eviction spiral into one of the darkest days in the department's modern history? One man, one eviction notice, one decision that changed everything. Benjamin Plank wasn't a career criminal. He wasn't on the run. But the moment he chose to open fire on 3 deputies, he crossed a line that shattered lives, broke records, and left a city stunned. Deputy Bobby Swartz, a man who simply showed up to do his job, didn't make it home. Deputy Mark Johns, nearly bled out on a suburban lawn, survived only by a miracle. And for the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, the scars go deeper than any bullet wound. In the aftermath, the questions haven't stopped. Why didn't Plank surrender sooner? Why was he so heavily armed? Could anyone have seen this coming? We may never get clear answers, but one thing is certain: this wasn't just a tragic misunderstanding. It was a deliberate act of violence that ended an 87-year peace. And behind the headlines, the footage, and the press conferences, are 2 deputies who stepped into a house expecting to deliver paperwork and walked straight into hell.